Matriarch's declaration cut across the lounge atmosphere. I no longer require your soiled currency. Leave. Her glee trailed behind, vicious and piercing, as though my being was the climax to an intimate anecdote. The partitions of my youth dwelling appeared to shrink, kinship portraits gazing with condemning stares. For an instant I stood frozen, my chest rejecting oxygen, digits prickling with loss of sensation as life fluid raced to my center. This person, this unfamiliar being wearing my mother's guise, stood before me grasping a lottery slip like a sacred object, her orbs shining with an iciness I had not witnessed previously. The identical person whose power statements I'd settled the prior cold season when the corporation warned of termination. The identical person who'd phoned me weeping at 2 a.m. a trimester back when she failed to cover the lease. The identical person I'd forfeited university for. My designation is Eleanor. I am 27, and this is the tale of how I converted my parents' avarice into her biggest undoing. Do you understand that sensation when actuality shatters surrounding you, when each offering you've given abruptly seems like an innocent error? That was myself, positioned in the cinders of a bond I previously believed indestructible. She gripped the lottery paper between groomed fingertips, shaking with exhilaration. Her stare sliced into me not as her child, but as a barrier, a specter to be eliminated now that wealth had presumably blessed her. My sibling Ethan sneered from the nook, limbs folded in self-satisfied triumph as if he'd been expecting this occasion his whole existence. I desired to prompt her of all things, the evenings I'd provided her meals when she alleged sickness, the periods I'd paid her portion of the rent, the celebrations I'd missed to take on additional hours while she lamented her unlucky situations. But treachery had secured my windpipe, taking my speech when I required it most. Then an element altered. She fluttered the ticket centimeters from my vision, proclaiming it her prized pass to liberation. My sight concentrated on the digits, intellect working sluggishly initially, then with perfect lucidity. A chuckle burst from somewhere profound within me, not a soft snicker or even a resentful cheer, but a primal, unstoppable noise that scraped its path upward from my torso. The space grew still at my eruption. My mother's victorious sneer stumbled as she questioned, "What is so amusing?" I met her look, warmth climbing behind my eyes, and murmured, "Given that that slip is not actually yours." The quiet extended among us like a weapon. My parents' face flickered, her grin solidifying into something fragile. Ethan moved uneasily, his assured smirk faltering as his vision jumped between us. "What do you imply it is not mine?" She spat, her tone splitting with the initial indication of doubt. I rested upon the barrier, abruptly serene, nearly supernaturally so. Peculiar how mirth can slice past hopelessness, molding it into transparent clearness. I uttered gradually, relishing every syllable. "That slip you're brandishing like it's your royal gem, it is mine. I purchased it. I chose those numerals. I concealed it beneath the sweetener container because I intended to verify it following my duty." The pigment emptied from her complexion. Ethan's mouth went slack, his conceit falling into incredulity. A fortnight earlier, drained after a twin shift at the medical center, I'd halted at the bodega for necessities, dairy, loaf, and on a whim, a solitary lottery slip. I rarely wagered, but a thing about that night had made me stop and pick those numerals. My mother never purchased slips. She'd consistently labeled them assaults on the foolish until she discovered mine. "Deceiver," she growled, clutching the paper firmer. "Why would you conceal it in my cookhouse if it was yours?" I advanced nearer, my voice sinking softer. "Because I had faith in you, because I assumed this home was protected, because it never crossed my mind that my own parent would rob me." The strain in the chamber became nearly solid. Ethan mumbled, "This is crazy," but his sound lacked confidence, and so... The disloyalty simmered in my core, but I kept my tone regulated, analytical. Do you truly believe currency renders you invincible, that it eliminates each obligation, each untruth, each instance you depended on me to endure? If that is what you think, then perhaps you've already forfeited more than you've gained. She tried another chuckle, but it came out empty and unsure. Nobody will trust you, you are impoverished. I will exchange this tomorrow, and by the moment you attempt to challenge me, the funds will already be mine. I grinned then, not from amusement, but from something more sinister, something ultimate. You may wish to inspect that slip again before you begin constructing your empire upon it. Her palms shook as she scrutinized the numerals. Ethan bent forward, air held, and in that suspended instant, I understood the currents were shifting. Her eyes skimmed the paper once, twice, then a third occasion, as if reiteration could change actuality. I observed her lips shift mutely, tallying and contrasting the numerals to those declared on the daybreak report. Then arrived the faintest wince. "Mom," Ethan's voice fractured, "what is the matter?" "Nothing," she retorted, but her whitening joints gave her away. I could nearly hear her aspirations fragmenting. I neared, my sound intimate like a blade upon her neck. "The figures correspond, do they not, but not the day?" She immobilized. The silence was exquisite before I provided the last strike. "That slip you're grasping, the one you took from my covert spot, is the previous week's draw, void, valueless. I already confirmed it." Her skull jerked upward, orbs feral with rejection. Ethan flickered in bewilderment. "What are you discussing? The bulletin stated—" I cut in. "The bulletin declared the victorious numerals this morning. I purchased a fresh slip the day before yesterday, the genuine victor, and it is not here." The atmosphere appeared to disappear from the room. My mother stumbled backward, hitting the sofa as if bodily struck by fact. "You ejected me," I stated, my sound unwavering but searing. "You shamed me, reduced me with your own remarks over a useless scrap, while the actual bounty rests securely in my billfold." Her mouth opened, but created no noise. Ethan's face whitened, his conceit dissolving into something pathetic, nearly scared. I could have departed then, could have strode off with my triumph guaranteed, but an element within me, something lyrical, something frigid, wished to let her stew in that quiet. "You did not merely lose funds tonight," I whispered, nearly tenderly. "You lost me, the sole individual who kept you buoyant when the globe did not care if you drowned." Her orbs sparkled, but vanity restrained her tears. She gripped the void slip like it might still rescue her, declining to admit loss. I rotated toward the exit, each pace intentional, my pulse constant as I grasped the knob. I heard her gasp out, "Eleanor, halt." I did not glance back. I let the quiet dangle, weighty and ruthless, before stepping into the darkness. The night chill nipped upon my flesh, but it seemed purifying contrasted to the toxic air I had abandoned. For the initial occasion in ages, I inhaled without her shade pressing upon me. The authentic slip remained in my billfold, a pledge of liberty, but it was not the cash that made me smile. It was understanding she had torched each connection for emptiness. Behind me, the door burst open. "Eleanor!" My mother's sound had changed, stripped of hubris, sharpened with despair. Her footfalls clicked upon the veranda, her outline quivering under the feeble porch lamp. "You cannot simply depart. You cannot do this to me." I turned slowly, purposefully, allowing her witness the tranquility upon my face. "Do this to you? Mother, you did this to yourself." Her hands contorted the worthless paper until it wrinkled, protesting within her frantic digits. I committed an error, acceptable. I was thrilled. I was not reasoning clearly. You know how I become when funds are engaged. Do not penalize me for that. The recognizable phrases scraped at me, but I did not recoil. I had heard them previously, wrapped in justifications dripping with manipulation. I was not reasoning. I did not intend it. You know me. Each expression had been an anchor fastening me to her tempest. Not any longer. Ethan materialized in the doorway, limbs folded, but alarm glittered in his gaze. He desired the funds, too. Merely distribute it, Eleanor. Cease being self-centered. Mom is correct. You owe us that. It shattered an element within me. An acrid chuckle fled, sharp as fractured crystal. Everything she has done. You imply the nights she departed me famished so you could consume. The instances she labeled me worthless because I could not generate sufficient. Or tonight when she expelled me the instant she believed I had no left to provide. His mouth clamped shut. My mother's lips trembled, seeking another tactic. Please, she murmured. And for the initial occasion, I perceived it plainly, not power, not command, but bare dread. Dread of losing the golden lead she believed she had coiled around me. I stepped off the veranda, crushed stone crackling under my footwear like punctuation. You did not forfeit the cash, Mother. You forfeited me, and unlike currency, you cannot repurchase me. Her respiration hitched, but I did not await her answer. I marched into the obscurity, allowing her despair resonate behind me. As the span increased, so did my determination. The slip was not merely possible riches, it was the concluding severing of fetters I had not recognized were suffocating me. But she was not going to relinquish me readily. I should have known serenity would be excessive to wish for. I went back to my modest flat across the municipality, the one I had secured 3 months prior when residing with Mother became intolerable. I had been laboring twin duties at the medical center to manage both my own space and still aid with her costs, thus a balancing feat that had left me endlessly fatigued. By daybreak, as daylight filtered through my shades, my device buzzed incessantly with calls, her digit, Ethan's, even unfamiliar ones. I disregarded them entirely, sipping harsh Java as sunlight spread across the fractured counter of my small flat. For once, quiet felt like protection. Then arrived the thump, loud and persistent. I unsealed the door to find her standing there, transformed, not despairing now, but scheming. Cosmetics flawless, stance stiff, the void slip tucked neatly into her handbag as if it still possessed value. Eleanor, she uttered smoothly, her sound sweetened with practiced cordiality. Let us converse. We are kin. Families do not permit funds to divide them. I leaned upon the doorframe, limbs crossed. Humorous. Last darkness you permitted funds to eject me from my home. Her grin jerked, but she continued. I was inundated. Cannot you perceive that? But now we can rectify things. I already consulted an attorney. He expressed it as irrelevant whose designation is upon the slip, since you reside under my ceiling. Any prizes could be contended as collective domestic asset. Her terms struck like frozen water. My fists clenched automatically. She had progressed from treachery to tactic overnight. You wish to rob from me lawfully now? I inquired, sound perilously soft. No, she answered rapidly, too rapidly. I wish us to distribute. Consider it. This is excessive for you alone. You would not understand how to manage all that wealth. You have never managed duty effectively. The affront twisted like a blade, intentional and exact. My pulse throbbed in my temples, but I kept my look neutral. Leave my entrance, I whispered. Her grin broke at the boundaries. If you stride away from me, Eleanor, I will destroy you. I will inform everyone you stole the slip from me. I will haul you through tribunal until you are destitute. Do you truly believe anyone will trust you over me? For a moment, the ancient dread stirred, the youth within who had always surrendered to her force, but something steadier surfaced to the top, a hushed, immovable assurance. I stepped nearer, stare locked on hers. The distinction among you and me, Mother, is that I do not require anyone to trust me. The Lottery Bureau will because the slip is documented under my designation. My identification, my acquisition, not yours. Her breath captured. She had not predicted this. I closed the door upon her countenance, the noise resonating like finality. My palms shook, but not from dread, from resolve. She was not completed. but neither was I, and the subsequent action would be mine. Over the subsequent days, I remained in my flat, filtering my calls and organizing my subsequent steps. I had insisted on employing my ID when I had obtained the slip, a routine for my nursing occupation where record-keeping was second nature. That straightforward safeguard would now be my shield. By a week's conclusion, I understood she would not yield. My mother had always flourished on control, on distorting accounts until individuals felt sorry for her and blamed me. But this occasion I refused to perform the quiet child, ingesting her disgrace. If she desired conflict, I would bring the combat zone to her doorstep. I commenced modestly, a call to the lottery office verifying what I already understood. My slip, my designation, my acquisition, ironclad evidence. Then I proceeded further, gathering each message, each slip, each transfer I had made across the years when I had rescued her. Lease payments, market statements, clinic costs, a mute log of offerings she feigned never occurred. And then I disclosed it, initially to intimate companions who had always trusted her falsehoods. Screenshots, financial records, pictures of the victorious slip itself. Within a week of distributing my proof, my tale propagated like rapid flame throughout our tiny township. I got text communications and electronic mails from individuals I had not talked to in ages. Neighbors murmuring, relations transmitting messages we never knew. We are so regretful. The compassion that once circled her started drifting fragment by fragment toward me. Her calls turned more vicious. One voicemail growled, "You believe mortifying me renders you powerful. You will lament this, Eleanor?" Another attempted culpability. "I bore you for 9 moons, and this is how you recompense me." But the one that struck deepest was a fractured sob, her sound splitting through static. "Please do not take all from me. You are all I possess." For a fleeting second, I nearly yielded. Nearly. But then I recalled her glee as she ejected me, proclaiming I was nothing without her. That sound solidified my resolve. So I intensified. I located the contact data for a regional reporter covering the lottery victory through the Gazette's online portal. When she inquired if I would distribute my poverty to wealth tale, I concurred on one state: the entire reality must be narrated, each term. When the piece printed 3 days later, it was not merely regarding a child who won the lottery, it was regarding a child who had been abused, humiliated, and abandoned only to ascend regardless. My mother's beaming countenance was conspicuously missing. Instead, her greed was depicted in frigid detail, revealed for all to witness. The consequence was instant. Previous companions avoided her calls. The neighbor she gossiped with crossed the roadway rather than encounter her. Even Ethan, her gilded youth, ceased protecting her as communal humiliation settled upon her like a covering. For the initial occasion in her existence, she was not the casualty, she was the antagonist. I was ultimately liberated from her narrative. Or so I believed. Her collapse arrived quicker than even I anticipated. Within a week, murmurs had become overt looks, gracious smiles transformed into targeted avoidance. The female who once pranced down our lane as if she possessed it now walked with jaw tucked, shades concealing her shame. But she did not give up quietly. She clawed hopelessly, like a sinking individual pulling others under. She posted online, spinning a fresh account. "My child betrayed me. She stole the victorious slip. I am the genuine casualty." For a few hours, a small number of voices believed her. Then the proof emerged. My receipts, her poisonous messages, her endeavor to discard me the moment she believed she had hit prosperity. The web turned against her swiftly, brutally. Comments inundated her post. How could a mother treat her child like that? She had everything and discarded it. This is what greed accomplishes. Her social platforms went mute after that, but the humiliation persisted. At the market, I overheard 2 females whispering as she passed. That is her, the lottery robber. At chapel, where she once paraded me as her load, individuals shifted away from her bench. Even her closest allies, those who had always echoed her falsehoods, ceased replying to her calls. Then arrived the device call I will never forget. Her sound unsteady, nearly unfamiliar. "Eleanor," she expressed, pausing as if the designation itself tasted acrid. "I require you. Individuals will not glance at me. They will not heed me. You have ruined my existence. Are you content now?" I sat there, handset pressed to my ear, sensing nothing but an odd, hollow calm. "No, Mother," I answered gently. "I did not ruin your existence. You accomplished that the instant you selected funds over me." Quiet. For the initial occasion, she had no retort. In that quiet, I sensed it, the authority shifting entirely and irreversibly. But as gratifying as her disintegration was, one element remained, the concluding resolution, the lyrical fairness that would seal each injury. When I ultimately claimed the victorious slip 2 weeks later, I did not feel wealthy, I felt liberated. The funds were merely paper. The genuine reward was emancipation from her chains. The reality had already spread. Individuals understood what she had done. She had no companions left, no compassion, no authority, just her pride, and even that was disintegrating. I saw her one more occasion on the roadway, tinier than I had ever witnessed her. She unsealed her mouth to talk, but I continued strolling. No terms left, no links left. Because my fairness was not the fortune. It was the quiet, the peace, the liberty she could never steal. 6 moons later, Ethan ultimately made contact with a clumsy apology. We met for brew, and while our bond would never be what it once was, we consented to begin anew. He had relocated to a nearby municipality, ultimately breaking liberated from Mother's sway himself. As for my mother, I heard she ultimately moved away, unable to confront the community that now understood her actual character. The last report I got was that she was residing alone in a tiny flat 2 towns over. With my winnings, I did not purchase estates or racing autos. Instead, I settled my scholar debts, built a cozy reserve fund, and gave a sizable part to a regional sanctuary for those fleeing monetary.